Welcome back to the second hour of the show with no name for March the 22nd, 1923.
1923?
It's a great year. It's a great year. 2013.
Okay.
Decades ahead of our time.
Boy, we're old.
I did that on
Yeah,
purpose.
we're old.
Yeah, he did.
Anyway, we're on our second cup of coffee, so anything's liable to happen. I'm Bob Going with Jim Nicosia and Gavin Murdoch, and holy mackerel, boy. And we covered a lot of ground on the first hour of absolutely nothing.
Going back in time there.
Yeah.
The Wayback Machine with Mr. Peabody.
Now, let me see. Warren Harding was probably still alive on this day in 1923, wasn't he?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's later in the year, you guys.
That's around the time he died.
Yeah.
If noted presidential historian David Petrusha is watching, give us a call and correct me on that. Wow.
Yeah. I see you got a book on the table, Bob.
I've had this here since last week.
So you haven't read it in a week?
No, I have, actually.
And you put it back?
I put it back on the table just in case.
We run out of material.
In case we run out of material, I get endless amounts of material in here. Ernie's War, the best of Ernie Pyle's World War II dispatches. And as I mentioned at the end of the show last week, you can open it to any page, and it's terrific. Now, it happens that, I think it was the day before yesterday, I'm reading his dispatches on the Battle of the Hedgerows in Normandy, which preceded the breakthrough, and that section as well. And it's great. You know, he's actually with the troops that get bombed by the Americans accidentally. I mean, talk about Omar Bradley begged him to go home and stay there. He says, you've used up your 9 land, and he was right, because he ends up getting killed by a sniper in the Rico Islands off of Okinawa. But you know, some of this stuff I do is just serendipity, because immediately thereafter I came to write about Steve Rutkowski's adventures in the war. And you may or may not remember Steve, but he was his wife Virginia was the librarian at St. Mary's for many years. And Joe Rutkowski was a year older than me, so he overlapped you in high school and grade school as well. Joe was a tough kid. He was the youngest of the 3 boys in the family. And when Dutch Holland started the football program at St. Mary's, he goes to Virginia and says, you know, I'd like Joe to try out for football. He's just the kind of guy I need. And Virginia says, well, I can't let him play football. He might hurt his fingers and won't be able to play the piano. Well, all I can say is it's a good thing Joe was a tough kid, because that story got around. And he didn't play football, and he was a hell of a piano player. He was, gosh, I remember like in maybe 6th grade, he was playing Chopin's Polonaise. Dun, 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 dun.
Did he ever live it down?
No, he moved out of town after, I was going to say after the war, but after
school.
After school. Gosh, I haven't seen him in years. The Rakowskis were very good friends of my parents. I think they used to play bridge together and stuff like that. So I knew Steve very well growing up, and he had a wooden leg from the war. And completely unself-conscious about it. In fact, you know, he knew that it made kids nervous the first time they saw that he was walking with a wooden leg. And so he'd sit down, take the leg off, show it, demonstrate it, and it had a hole through the calf. And I remember when my brother Sean was like 4 or 5 years old, he pulled up his pants leg so Sean could look through the hole in his leg. But put everybody at ease about it. And to me, the greatest, my greatest Steve Rutkowski story is that he and Virginia danced the polka at my wedding.
Really?
Not a waltz, not anything. He dances the polka with a wooden leg.
Wooden leg?
Yeah, you know, kind of like George Murphy in This Is the Army, you know, doing the tap dance at the end. Great guy. Great guy. Anyway, the serendipity is, as a first lieutenant, he's with the 35th Division. I think, actually, I haven't gone back and checked Pyle. I think Pyle was in the next division over. He was in the 30th, I think, through all this. And so Steve is going through the same things that Ernie Pyle is writing about, the field by field. Mm-hmm. And as a first lieutenant, he's leading a platoon, and it took them something like 8 days to go 7 miles to capture Saint-Lô. And which, I mean, they literally, practically literally, virtually literally, get off the boat at Omaha Beach and go right to the front lines. And like 6 days later, they're in the center of this major offensive to capture Saint-Lô. So the Pyle firsthand accounts are just terrific. And these guys, you had to go field by field. And the hedgerows are so thick that they're just loaded with snipers. And he talks about in this book how the really good soldiers and platoon leaders could almost smell where the Germans were. You couldn't see them, but they kind of like knew where they were, and they would have to go up the sides of the fields, and you know, 3 at a time, and you know, work their way to the edge. And if somebody fired, then they, you know, concentrate on it. But it was literally the fields were mined, and they had like every kind of weapon imaginable was coming at them. And once the offensive started, the Germans knew, you know, you could just kind of shoot at will, and you're going to hit somebody. And casualties are tremendous, and Steve manages to come out unscathed. I hope I'm still on microphone. Okay, this will be better. You got yours on?
I got mine on.
Okay. And then once the breakthrough comes, they just sweep across France. They're the right flank of Patton's Third Army, and they capture Orléans and the city of Nancy. And on, I think it's the 16th of September, 44, Rutkowski's platoon is charged with, they've crossed the Moselle River, and they're basically circling Nancy from the east to link up with another division to squeeze, not only squeeze out Nancy, which they've already captured, but to prevent a line of defense against a counterattack from the Germans, who are higher up on the next hill. Anyway, so he's charged with going after this gun emplacement up ahead, and they charge forward. He's shot in the arm, and doesn't stop him. He keeps going because he's leading the platoon. And then a mortar lands right near him, and he's injured in both legs. Obviously loses one, can't walk. He continues to orchestrate the battle for 3 hours after being injured enough to lose a leg. And it's only when they've neutralized their objective and sent up a defensive perimeter to hold their gains that he finally allows himself to be evacuated. And he gets a Silver Star, and is personally visited by George S. Patton in his recovery, and promoted to captain.
Oh.
I remember him telling me this story. Patton introduces himself as Captain Rutkowski, sir. He loved the movie when it came out.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. Loved Patton himself.
Either loved him or hated him.
Yeah. Well,
you know, got the job done.
He got the job done. He got the job done. and they pulled the gasoline away from them in September of '40. Right after Steve got hurt is when they stalled on the Patton's offensive, because they sent all the gasoline up to. But they moved so far, so fast, they couldn't keep up with them.
They outraced them. You can't get too far ahead of your supplies.
The guy in charge of the supplies was Brigadier General Alan Kimball from Amsterdam, New York. He was a assistant quartermaster for the European campaign. Yeah, starting in March of '44. He's 44. So he's got like 50 major supply dumps under him, thousands of men and stuff like that. And, you know, I say in my book that it was certainly the most important job of Kimball's career, but it may have been the most important job in World War II when you get right down to it, because it's the guys who keep the supplies rolling that win the wars. You ever read Ulysses S. Grant's memoirs?
Yeah, I read a lot about Grant.
Terrific. I mean, some of the critics say that it's the best war memoir since Caesar. Grant had been in the Quartermaster Corps in between the wars, in between the Mexican War and the Civil War, and he thinks like a quartermaster. And if you read his memoirs, and you see that there's all these references to, you know, how they manage these supplies and how they did this and how they did that, and it's all, you know, the Army can't go forward unless there's the logistics are there behind it, and that's what Alan Kimball does in World War II. And when you think about it, they had no port; they had to invent a port.
They had to build a port.
These mulberries, they build a concrete port and sink it. So the Germans can't see it from the air, and then on D-Day they tow it over to Omaha Beach and Utah Beach, and they create a port where none existed, and that's how until Cherbourg is cleared like 5 months later, that's how they supply the forces in Europe. And you know how they get the gasoline over, or diesel, or whatever they run a pipeline. They put together this pipeline that runs from England to Omaha Beach, and from there they load the tankers to take them to the front. Yeah, because otherwise the tankers would just be going back and forth, and they needed so much.
Oh yeah.
I hadn't realized how incredibly mobile our forces were until I was reading about Steve Rutkowski's 35th Division, and after the breakthrough. They put them all on trucks and take them 52 miles to their next spot, and then they march off from there, and then they go by truck 80 miles to the next spot, because as the Germans are retreating, they're keeping up with them with the troops by essentially bussing them in. It's like the Greater Amsterdam School District going to a tournament.
All right, then you're talking about that. Saving Private Ryan or Band of Brothers? Which one of those is?
The better movie?
The better movie and most accurate of what was taking place.
Well, Band of Brothers is the most accurate.
Because in there you can see some of the obstacles that supply had to overcome to keeping them up, you know, whether it was food supplies or ammunition or gasoline. They were just, oftentimes they were slowed because the other guys couldn't keep up with them.
Right.
You can't outpace what you need to have.
On the other hand, you can't stand still while the enemy is retreating. So, I mean, once they make that breakthrough in Normandy, they just. I mean, it took practically no time.
It was less than a year.
Yeah, I mean, practically takes no time for them to take the rest of France. One of the things history is happening so fast in those days, it's hard to keep up with it, because one thing's happening here, one thing's happening there. The 35th Division moves to Le Mans to regroup for about 2 hours before they take off for Orléans. It's August 15th, 1944. And the breakthrough took place like 6 days earlier, something like that. That's the same day the second D-Day landing in France takes place, the one that everybody forgets about, when we attacked southern France, the soft underbelly of Europe, as Churchill called it. When the 7th Army from Italy comes over and starts marching up the Rhone Valley. It's no time before they're linking up with Patton. It's just amazing. They took the whole southern half of the country in a matter of weeks, really.
Yeah. And from August till surrender, you're talking 8 months.
Yeah.
Once.
Yeah, and but for the Battle of the Bulge, it would have been a lot earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, once they cross the Rhine, it's over. It's over. Boy. So anyway, we're talking about school buses. What's going on with the school district?
We're waiting for the referendum to come up and.
Have you set a date for it yet? Or?
Yeah, they have.
And not they, you.
The board did, and I don't remember exactly the date, sir.
Oh, okay.
I apologize.
All right. But it's going to be in advance of the
school budget
school board election, school
yes.
budget and school board election.
Yes, it is.
Now, who's up this year?
Carol Grieco and John Battisti.
John's up already?
Yeah, it's been 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, another alum of Bishop Scully.
That's right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So, and I believe
alumnus, of course.
I believe both of them are gonna be running again. So.
So the big controversy.
So wait, but they are both running, or not?
I believe they both are running.
Okay.
Yeah.
The big controversy is the pay raise for the superintendent and the pay raises for the teachers that are.
Well, they're negotiating right now with the teachers union.
Are they?
Nothing's been settled on that. We've been negotiating since since last July.
Is the contract already passed? Or?
Yeah, they're working without a contract basically this year.
But the superintendent, he's gotten a raise every year since he's been superintendent.
I believe there's 1 year in there that he didn't get a raise in there.
I thought they.
I think there's 1 year he didn't get a pay raise in there. So we'll see what happens with it. You know, they're negotiating with the teachers union. They're also negotiating with the two of the parts of the CSEA. They're negotiating with the bus drivers maintenance and with the clerical staff as well. So there's three units that are the contracts have not been settled yet, and they're negotiating with right now. So we'll have to wait and see how
who represents the school district in the negotiations?
The superintendent. We've got 3 members of the Board of Education on the negotiating committee, as well as our negotiation lawyer from Gervin, and they represent the school district and the school board and the committee in the negotiations.
And who's on the committee from the school board?
The president, the vice president. Right now, it's basically Dickie Peters.
Reverend.
No, he's on the board for the teachers. It's Dickie Peters, Matt Flint, and Gino Agresta are the ones who are on the negotiating team. And you know, they would like to see the negotiations move forward and settled, and as with the school district, because once it's settled, at least you know exactly what you're working with for next year. And now it's kind of a guesstimate what it you know how that's going to work out. But based upon all the information we have from the state, you know, the state aid should hold. The budget that the board has been working on right now is there is no increase in the tax levy to the community. Doesn't mean there won't be a tax increase based upon where you live in the school district because of equalization. So there's a negotiation, and you can't say anything about what each side is offering because it's hasn't been settled yet. But they're working hard. They've had numerous meetings. They've had some very long meetings to work on some of the issues. And you know, is everything money? No, but yeah, it's all money. You know,
so basically, you got to put enough in reserve to settle the contracts. Depending on where they end up going.
Yeah. You know, so we'll see how that goes. You know, once the contract's settled, then you've got a better projection exactly what's going to follow in the budget for the next several years after the contract's been settled.
What do you? Well, do you know what you're working on, like a 3 or 4 year contract? Or?
Yeah, they're working on a 3 or 4 year contract.
Yeah. Which is
You know,
typical one of
it
the other.
is, you know, and it's tougher and tougher. I mean, in the fiscal climate that we live in, to go out too far is not necessarily a good thing.
No, right. I think 4 is the most you should go out, depending on. Well, of course, a lot of it depends on where you are when you start. If you're already a year behind, you're only really going forward 3 years. But on the other hand, you also want to be able to plan for the future.
Yeah, you want to be able to plan for the future, but you're still. But in New York State, you're planning on part of the unknown.
Yeah, there's so much that's unknown that it's a risk for either side to go out any farther than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully, we'll have this wrapped up in the next couple of months before the next fiscal year starts. And
so you've been on the board almost a year now. Well, not really. About 8 months
since July.
Is it everything you dreamed of?
and more.
And more.
And more. Yeah. You know, and being on the board, you really get to see the workings of the district itself. You see the programs that are taking place because you're invited to all these things.
Yeah.
You know, and you get to see what not only what the programs are, but what some of the challenges of the programs are. You know, we've got the change in the teacher evaluation system that we're in the middle of. That's been mandated. You know, so you see all the things that are involved in that. You're looking at all the changes in this testing that the students undergo that need to be prepared for in the classroom, and what some of the unintended consequences are about all this testing. Teachers out of the classroom more because they have to go to be present for trainings. All right, and then you need to take more time out to gear the kids for the testing, and you really do, because the more familiar you are with something, the less likely it is that you're going to have problems because of the style of the thing that you're doing. So the kids have to become familiar with the style of testing. The biggest one I see is in math. No longer can you do your computation and receive full credit. You have to, literally, as they say, show your work and explain your work. Right. You have to explain the process you use to arrive at the answer. Now, when I was not a great math student, but I could come up with the right answer by doing a bunch of things I figured would get me to the right place. But if I had to write out what I was going through,
including eliminating the bad answers,
it'd be very hard. And the level of testing, the level of knowledge that the kids in the lower grades are having. Misha's in 7th grade. Yes, he's in the advanced math course, but the stuff they're talking about, we never heard those words until we were in 10th grade in geometry, or 9th grade with algebra. It's just it really is mind-boggling to see the level of sophistication and expertise these kids have to exhibit on these tests. It's just so far ahead of where we were. I never thought we went that fast in math. Sometimes it was faster than I could keep up because I didn't do well in it. But it never seemed like we were in the middle of a sprint. It certainly was a marathon. But today, this is more like the half mile where it's neither a sprint nor a marathon. It's just all out for the length of time that you're involved in it, and it's challenging for the kids, and it's also challenging for the teachers because you have to teach this material in a different fashion than they were accustomed to, because everything's a reflection of what you understand from both ends, and really the math is the big challenge. The one thing that always bothers me is they say, well, the United States is ranked 25th in math and compared to the rest of the world, and they always throw up some third world country that's ahead of us. Well, the thing just to keep in mind when they're doing that is probably 95 to 99% of the kids in this country are in school to get tested. When these other countries are being tested, you're talking sometimes 10 or 15%, which is their upper kids are being tested against all our kids. Yeah. So you know what? The results are going to be different.
Of course.
Because they're not there. Yeah. And even some of the other countries, by the time they get to 7th or 8th grade, they've already been tracked out. Vocational.
And of course, the other thing is, are we getting the job done? Nationally, has everybody got what the,
Probably not. Probably need to do a better job. But I don't think it's as dire as it gets made out to be sometimes.
Right. Now, the wife, who is a teacher, of course, has been coming home grousing fairly recently about these national core curriculum standards, which I guess are being imposed this year for the first time.
Yeah.
Number one, as a general proposition, I don't think the federal government should be setting the standard. And of course, they're not. The standards go beyond learning math and learning science. So that they're setting core standards into all the feel-goody stuff. And how's your sensitivity coming, and how's your diversity training coming, and all that stuff. Not how's your algebra coming. But and of course, these standards are being set by regulators in Washington, instead of allowing the grand experiment of federalism to work, which is, you try this and you try that, and we find that this works better than that, and it's all this, we know what's best for you. How serious is this core curriculum thing, and how is it affecting our local school district?
It's just another portion of the socialistic pathway they're tracking down. There's a thing on TV last night from Ipswich, Connecticut. Ipswich? Yeah. And their middle school this year has eliminated their Junior Honor Society recognition night.
I saw that.
And I
mean, don't you want to just slap your head?
I want to slap his head.
Right.
All right. The principal gets on, he says, well, we feel in the big scheme of things, it'd be better just to have a celebration for all kids, because there are going to be some kids and some parents whose kids aren't going to reach this level, and we don't want them
They're going to feel bad.
They're going to feel bad about it. Give me a freaking break. All right? You do, if you don't, you don't, and if you want to, do it next time.
Right.
Okay?
Work harder.
What you're doing is you're just watering down everything to a level of mediocrity. You're leveling things down to a thing of nobody should be better than anybody else. But there are people who are better off than somebody else because of the sweat equity they've put into their lives and their opportunities they've created for themselves. And that's a fact. If you're going to take everything away, then there's no sense for anybody to do anything. Absolutely. And I was at work and I just, you gotta be kidding me. Okay? You gotta be kidding me. And there's schools, and this is a little.
I don't know what this guy should be, but principal isn't one of them.
No way.
There's schools that have eliminated valedictorian and salutatorian.
Sure.
Okay.
In case somebody feels bad.
Somebody feels bad. All right, we're going to take the top 20 and then recognize the top 20 kids. And it's next is the top 3. We're going to just bring everybody because they're graduating. There is no recognition of personal achievement anymore. There's no view of failure anymore. I exist, therefore I'm entitled, therefore we're all the same.
I'm glad we don't have that attitude in our school district, and we really don't. Most graduation ceremonies are pretty dull as a general proposition. I'm talking about the Amsterdam High School graduation ceremonies are always interesting for a variety of reasons, but my favorite is when the principal gets up and talks about the individual achievements of the different students and goes on and on and on in all kinds of different fields. And so got the NASA, the Future Astronaut of Tomorrow award. And when it piles up, you realize that there is at least a recognition and acknowledgement of excellence in different fields, and that is so important and so refreshing to hear. Yeah. You used to have fun doing that.
Yes,
sure.
I did. And my funnest one was the year I got up and I said, 2,000, and this is close, 2,127. What does that number mean to you? You know what that number means? That's how many consecutive days this student has been in school. He never missed a day. Every day from his kindergarten on, he was here every day. And we go, wow, and people, I mean, that's wonderful.
And almost every year there's one of those.
One of those that has had,
the fact that you've kept track of it is also interesting.
Yeah, but we had, every year, I will say though, every year we have some kids that have had perfect attendance throughout high school.
Yeah. But from every day from kindergarten?
He was there.
I mean, that's like being the Cal Ripken of the student body, huh?
Absolutely, without the cheers every day. But yeah, they do. They try to make it interesting. They try to recognize the individual achievements that.
Actually, what you need to do is get that kid's DNA analyzed and find out what it is that's keeping him so healthy.
It's just.
He went to school when he didn't feel well.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm sure that's true. Yeah.
Absolutely did. And there is achievement. There is recognition in your life for things you've done.
There has to be recognition. They can't just.
You can't, but they do. There was another school last week that have outlawed bringing to school cupcakes and something else for some reason. Somebody might be allergic to things that are tasty or something. There's just, and what makes it worse is the school as a fundamental today teacher of kids are being not allowed to fundamentally teach the kids. We're not allowed to teach the things that parents should be taught, but we're there to replace the parents so they don't have to do anything. Standards, just standards and character standards and standards of accomplishment have been taken off the board in the schools. I mean, that's the one advantage that a parochial school can have. They can maintain those because a child is there by choice. Public schools kids aren't. And since they're not there by choice, by golly, don't call them out on choices that they make.
I think it was at a Holy Name Society meeting one time. I kind of berated our principal, who was a great guy. I said, I've seen the test scores at our school and compared to everybody else in the Capital District. And the test scores at St. Mary's are like in the top 5 of the Capital District, and the other 4 are other parochial schools. Well, it wouldn't be fair to the public schools because we don't teach everybody. We just teach the people who want to come here and learn, and we wouldn't want them to feel bad. Hey, wait a minute. You're turning out a great product. Brag about it.
Yeah, sure.
But they're so afraid of offending.
That's right. You can't offend that.
And I mean, it's not just him. It's the whole diocesan school board has come to that conclusion that they shouldn't compare themselves to the public schools. Well,
I'll tell you,
guess what? When I look at the honor society at the high school every year, half the kids are coming from St. Mary's or more. So that tells you something, right?
Yeah.
Because we're only one of how many public schools you got? Elementary schools?
4 elementary.
4 elementary schools?
Yeah.
My grandson had enrolled his daughter in school this year, and before he enrolled, he visited all the schools.
Yeah.
To see where he was going to put her, because he didn't want to go to St. Mary's because he didn't want to have to pay the tuition.
Well, who does?
After he visited all the schools.
Used to be free for us, right?
Yeah.
After he visited all the schools, guess where he brought him?
St. Mary's?
St. Mary's.
Yeah. Good.
He enrolled her in St. Mary's.
But in the same vein there, the fact that the public school has to teach all the kids, presents challenges that you don't have in a parochial school, because you do have a lot of disenfranchised kids who do not have the necessary support at home to instill upon them the desire to be successful and hardworking. You don't have the parents who check to see that the kids are doing the things they should do in school. Meet from somewhere, hey, we check to see what he's got for homework. All right, you got 6 things you got to do tonight. Make sure you get your homework done first before you get to the other 5. Yet there are kids whose parents are not engaged. You've got kids who have academic challenges in school that you don't always find in a parochial school. There's services a public school has to provide that parochial schools usually don't have to provide because they don't have that population of students to work with. And
yeah, so the averages are going to be skewed.
They're going to be skewed. But the thing's important is that in a parochial school, those results should be better. And if they're not better and they're only the same, then that kind of program needs to be looked at, because statistics said you've got the better kids, you have better job.
Well, I got to tell you, every time I go up there, and and the wife is always forgetting something. I have to, go up there. Every time I go up there, during the middle of the school day, I walk in and I feel like I'm in the hospital scene in The Godfather. It's deadly quiet.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, has the school been evacuated? Am I the only one in here and the bomb's about to go off? What's going on? And do they call off school today? And it's just that every classroom I walk by, the kids are
disciplined,
quiet, paying attention,
yeah,
and enjoying themselves. It's not like any of them look like they're in fear. They're just self-disciplined enough to appreciate the learning environment. It's great. So of course, I mean, there were days when we were there when there were certain teachers we were terrified of. Mrs. Conley always terrified me. I didn't have her.
I had her, and what was she was she was a little larger lady, but she sat up on that rostrum, which was 2.5, 3 foot off the ground, and when she sat at her desk and she could overlook her fiefdom. Yeah. It was intimidating.
And she should have been a mother superior.
She could have been. Yeah. She could have been a boss of the other mother superiors.
Right.
But she, I enjoyed the class. We survived. We learned how to take notes because.
Oh my God! We used to think she was so old. I mean, Mrs. Conley taught. I don't know if she taught my father, but she was at the school when my father was there. She was at the school when I was there, and I'm thinking, God. And she died, I think, when I was in 8th grade. I don't forget what happened. You know how old she was? 59. 59 when she died. Yeah. And we thought she was like, 75.
Oh, yeah. Well, Mrs. Rossman was that old.
Well, she taught forever.
I had her in
God,
5th
I love
grade.
Mrs. Rossman. I didn't have her either.
I had her in 5th grade.
Maybe I have different opinions of these people. I actually had them as teachers, but
well, she was good. She used to play after lunch. We come up and she'd play the patriotic tunes on the piano. We had to learn to sing along.
Yeah, almost every classroom had a piano.
That was our music.
And had music.
Yeah, that was it. But 5th grade was easy when I had, because I'd already spent a year in 5th grade as a 4th grader when we had that split class.
Well, right. Oh my God! So that must have been a snap for you.
Yeah. It was easy.
Gavin and I were in a split grade, and it's amazing when you think about it. One teacher teaching 4th grade, give an assignment, then walks to the other side of the room, teaches 5th grade. But meanwhile, the kids who have done the 4th grade assignment are listening into the 5th grade curriculum.
Yeah.
So
they had a leg up.
We had a leg up.
Yeah. That was a good class all the way around too.
That was cherry picked. They cherry picked
probably on both sides, right?
Yeah.
And I think maybe there's a reason for that, because they probably figured it's easier for the better students to work in a split class environment than it would be otherwise.
Yeah. So. I don't remember any squirrels in the 4th grade class I was in with. I think the other teacher had the squirrels that year. Yeah. Because she didn't. I don't remember her having too much problems with discipline in there. Of course, none of the nuns did. I remember that long. I got whacked once.
Really?
When I was in 2nd grade with the pointer. It was the day.
Sister Crescentia Joseph or somebody else?
Sister Crescentia Joseph.
Yeah.
It was the day before Easter break. It must have been a cold day, because we got in the building earlier, and they let us in, and those of us who were there, somebody, and I think it was Mary Elizabeth Gilston,
probably
thought it was a good idea if we went in the lockers and hid and jumped out and surprised Sister when she came in.
Libby.
Good old Libby. So we did that.
What a troublemaker.
We did that, and Mrs. Riley, the school nurse, walked in first, and we jumped out. Miss Riley, and she got hot. So she pulled us all in the office, her office, because it was right next to our classroom, for all the kids who were in the lockers. Pulled us out, and Sister came in. She presented us as Sister. We all had to sit facing the chalkboard with our backs to the classroom the whole day, because we could have got locked in there. We had never gotten out. And before we left, everybody come up and bend over the desk, and
you got a whack.
We got a whack with that pointer.
Did you ever hide in the locker again?
No. No. Nope, never hid in a locker. I don't think I could ever hide in a locker again because they were so damn small after second grade.
It's amazing.
But I remember that's the only time I ever got hit, and I never told my parents about that. And she didn't call. She figured she had scared us enough, you know. And
you never told your parents, huh?
No.
Wow.
They never asked. If they knew or not, I don't know.
I'm glad you got this out because you know if you ever ran for public office again, somebody was going to mention this.
That's right. That's right. You got hit in school.
And Libby Gilson got it too?
Oh yeah, she was the organizer. I think there's 6 of us. We all rode the Henry.
Her father won the Silver Star in the war too, you know.
Dr. Gilston?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Before he was Dr. Gilston. Yeah.
Yeah, they used to live over in Summit Ave.
He was he led a tank platoon and forget what they were attacking some village in Germany, and there was a bridge, and the first 2 tanks get over the bridge, and then another one stalls in the middle of the bridge, and while they're all under fire, and he organized the retreat under fire and stayed till the others were safely back across, and picked up the Silver Star. And I think a Purple Heart later on too, if I'm not mistaken. Just another one of those guys from Amsterdam.
Where do you find such men?
Where do you find such men? Where do we find such men?
I don't know. It's a good thing we do, though.
Yeah.
You know, the sheer volume of these stories that I now have in my book just amazes me. And you know, most of them are people whose names you'd recognize. Some of them maybe not, but just amazing. Just amazing.
You know, for a small town on the river with mills.
River.
Yeah.
Mill town.
Wow. What?
Speaking of that,
By the way, you still haven't picked up your pictures from me. You've been here 3 times and I haven't got them yet.
I won't leave home without them today. I was watching YouTube. Do you see that Mike Zumbolo?
I saw
the tunes on there. Very good. Especially that one about
the downtown one?
Yeah. Very good. I didn't know you could sing.
Didn't Mary Riccio's Amsterdam Oratorio, didn't that have a number about going downtown?
Yes, it did.
Right?
Yeah.
I got to pull that out.
Yeah.
That was a good piece of work. I saw Mary at the Wizard of Oz with Colonel von Hasseln.
Oh, is he still in town?
Is he still in town?
Is he?
He hasn't been on the show lately. I don't know. I don't even know if he's watching the show.
I haven't seen him any place.
Busy man. Busy man now.
That's what he told me. He said, really busy. I said, you must be really busy. You haven't been on the show. Well, maybe he's waiting until we go outdoors again.
What's the
or go on the radio.
What's the rumored business that wants to go into Esquire building? They said it on the radio the other day that there's a downtown business that somebody's trying to get them to go out of town, and economic development is trying to...
Mohawk Lifts, probably. Mohawk Lifts is talking about moving out of town. Okay. And Rob is working hard to keep them here. And that's like 110 jobs or something like that. Wow. And the other one is...
That's quite a place. That's quite a business.
FGI is for sale.
Really?
Yeah. Both the Edson Street and Homestead Place buildings are I guess the company is for sale. Now that would be quite the blow.
Yeah, that would be.
If the they have that furnace up on Edson Street that if it shuts down, it costs $2 million to start it up again, or at least that was the story 20 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Because they just keep it on all the time to keep the fiberglass melted or whatever.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
do.
If it ever solidifies, it'd be a major job to get it to melt again.
Right. They'd have to take the whole thing apart.
It'd be like a great big cube of glass.
What's going on with Best Western? Or the best quality?
They're in trouble too. Yeah, there's.
It's up for auction.
Yeah.
The mayor wants somebody to buy it and tear it down and build condos or whatever. That's what it sounds like anyway. That she's involved in that.
You know, it's funny because, again, with all my research, I get the whole story. Beginning in the 1920s, the Chamber of Commerce and other do-gooders began promoting the need for a modern downtown hotel. There were numerous flophouse hotels, I guess, in town at the time, 4 or 5 or 6, whatever. It was the era before motor lodges and motels, but in the 20s, I mean, there was a concerted effort. We definitely need this, and in the 40s, and then as soon as the war is over, they had this huge program to raise money to, and you know, the carpet mills put in, because you know they got all their buyers coming and they want to put them up in a nice place. And they raised like, what was it, $550,000 or something like that in subscriptions to build a hotel on the site where the Grand Union later became and is now Dollar General on Guy Park. That property went through multiple iterations over the years. Well, I work on that for a while, and just it kind of quietly goes by the wayside, and nothing happens in the early 50s. And what money was left was redistributed to the stockholders. And then, but the whole concept continues, and as part of the urban renewal program, the Holiday Inn gets built, and then that's subsequently subsidized by Ada and everything else, and Jackson Wolf walks away from that owing Ada like $2 million or something like that, which they never went after him personally on for some reason, even though he personally guaranteed everything and owned all kinds of property in Ohio. And so then that falls by the wayside, and it's been sold a couple times since and just has fallen into increasing disrepair to the point, I understand, where even the Swingers Club from Schenectady is no longer renting it out one weekend a month because the place is not suitable enough for them. You know, if it's too crummy for the Swingers Club.
Yeah, how bad must it be?
So I don't know. I don't know if they went through bankruptcy or mortgage foreclosure or what the heck is going on now. But now we're going through. You can be sure that. If they do tear it down, within minutes there will be another major campaign to what this town needs is a decent hotel. You know, and of course, when it was built, there was still a downtown. Yeah. And when Coleco was humming, they had all these Japanese engineers were staying there, making the ColecoVision and the Atom computer, and. I mean, you can remember we're going into lunch there, the place is packed every day. Yeah. Every day, and it's not that many years ago.
There's not that many people there now.
And there's no, really. I don't know where, I
don't know. Where do you go to lunch?
It's getting harder and harder. We're going to have to go to lunch today,
yes,
so we've got to figure out a place to go.
Yes.
What's the name of the Southside Diner?
Well, no, what's the name of the guy on second base?
Who? L'Ultimo?
L'Ultimo, the ultimate.
L'Ultimo.
L'Ultimo. Paul Perillo in his latest version. Food is good and cheap. Or should I say reasonable.
Reasonable.
We went there once. They don't have a lot of what I would call a gluten-free menu, so I haven't really been making it a regular Saturday night operation.
Who in town has the gluten-free? Anybody?
Well, if the menu is a little broader, you can usually find something.
Well, you can find something.
Yeah, and you know, being a small place, the menu was somewhat limited. Although for most people, it was just fine. The Armory Grill has a couple of things that are gluten-free, and if you ask them, they'll make something for you. They make a fish thing for me that's quite good and quite gluten-free. So there's ways to do it. I'm not going to make everybody in town adjust to my diet.
Well, now that's difficult to do.
But anyway, that's where we are. So L'Ultimo. And, you know, Paul keeps making that place look so classy that I'm afraid to go in there without a tie now.
Well, I haven't been in there in a couple months, a few months.
It looks great. It really looks great. And as I say, the food is good and reasonable. However, I miss the breakfast and lunch, so you know it's getting harder and harder to find a lunch place, particularly on certain days of the week. So I don't know, where do you want to go today? You want to go over to La Cucina, maybe?
Your pick.
It's your pick.
Your pick.
Anybody been up to the new Crystal?
Yes, I was. I was there
I
on. I went there on
somebody said that last Sunday.
Wednesday.
Was it last Sunday? That there was a 2-hour wait.
Wow.
For pizza.
Wow.
Yeah, I went there Wednesday for lunch. I walked in and Christy was in there, and I asked her if she was home. She says, yeah. And Tony was there and his wife was there, and I got a couple slices for lunch before I went to work, and they're getting there. They're going to be doing ice cream there. They'll be doing takeout. They'll be doing deliveries as summer goes on and everything. And the pizza was good. Close your eyes and you're right back.
You're back on Lion Street.
Right, yeah, on Lion Street playing Ziggy and Iggy, the dart games I used to have in there.
Thin crust? Thin pizza? Thin?
No, I had the
regular?
Yeah, I had the regular. That's what I like. And
so you had the pie-shaped pizza as opposed to the rectangular pizza?
No, it was rectangular, but it wasn't thin. It was thicker.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it wasn't thicker.
Yeah,
okay.
It was, and it was very good. You know, so we'll be going back there. You know, I've been all over the world. I've been all over the United States. And
you've even been on an Indian reservation.
I've been on an Indian reservation, which is the only place I never got a pizza, because they didn't have a pizza place. But Amsterdam has got the best pizza. They've got every variety and style of pizza. You know, from the very thin crust to the old-fashioned. It's got everything, and they're all wonderful places to go. And you can have pizza every weekend for several months and never get the same kind of pizza, but they'd all be good. And you could close your eyes, you know exactly which one you got.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, they're using the same ingredients.
Yeah. Although I will say, the Goodfellas taste an awful lot like Batistis, which is a good thing. I think so. Yeah.
I've had that because
have them side by side, and we'll do a taste test.
Yeah. Okay. Because I like Batistis. I mean, Batistis is the one we grew up on because they gave the pizza for the basketball games and all the dances at Scully.
And we always went there after.
Yeah, you could get in. Yeah, absolutely.
They were the famous place to go to.
There's a good location there. Scaffidi's used to have real good pizza.
You know, I do.
Pep's had real good pizza.
Yes, both Pep's actually, because you could get it from the bakery as well.
Yes.
You know, it was nice when we were tutoring the bakery Pep kids when we had the family tutoring school on Trinity Place. Mr. Pep had come by with a pizza on a Friday night, just out of the blue, as a little bonus for. You know, first we used to charge like $1 an hour for tutoring. Anyway, that was the olden days. There's a little sidelight in my book about pizza. Or I mentioned it a couple of times anyway, because in 1940, when the troops are going off to federal service, the only place in town that seems to be serving pizza is Lanzi's on Bridge Street. Lanzi's restaurant on Bridge Street, and it's called La Pizza, in quotes. All right? And then by the end of the war, I do a thing on what's going on December 7th, 1945, kind of copying what was happening in December of 41. And there's like 4 different places in town advertising La Pizza, but Lanzi's has taken the quotes off it, because now it's a staple. And now it's just plain pizza without the quotes.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. And of course, pizza just means pie. So when you say pizza pie, you're being redundant. And La Pizza means the pie.
Yeah.
The pie. Yeah. But that's the early origins of it. And I've got an ad from Lenczewski's Grill which was where the El Banco Polacco is now on Church and Reed Street. And they were advertising pizza pretty early in the 40s, which is kind of the Lancheski's featuring pizza and chop suey.
It's a combination.
Well, we were allied with Nationalist China at the time, so. Yeah, La Pizza. But you think of pizza as being this ancient food. It really is primarily American in origin, as I understand it, and it went over to. I think it went over to Italy with the troops. It may have come out of Naples originally, but I think it may very well have been the other way around.
It wasn't long before, but you're right. After the war is when it really took off.
It took off like crazy. Us growing up, I remember pizza all the time.
Yeah.
But our parents growing up never heard of it.
No.
No, when I was a kid, there was only one place that had pizza, and it was a fried pizza. There was pizza frite with
like fried bread dough.
Yeah, but they just put it in a frying pan and cooked it, and they put sauce on it. That was a pizza.
Wow, and that was in Gloversville?
That was in Gloversville.
Wow.
They always were different.
It was 18 what?
1923.
No, about what year would that have been? Second.
Probably 1939, 1940.
Yeah, see, I think that's about it. I think that's when it was just hitting this country here and there. Now,
if you don't have it, they look at you funny.
I tell people that where this place was and what the name of it was, never heard of it.
Is that right?
That's how small the place was, and it was Gentiles on Broad Street, right on the corner. It was like they had a little bar and a table. We went in there and got our pizza free. Our pizza.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Probably wasn't anything like you would have today.
No, nothing like today. Nothing like that. Well, Elaine makes it. She makes pizza frite and
then put sauce on it?
Well, I put sauce on it.
Just like the olden days.
Yeah, she puts sugar and the other kids put.
Is there anything that woman can't cook?
I haven't found it.
Yeah. Well, you lucky dog. Lucky dog that you are. Well, someday I'm going to, by the way, I'm going to read excerpts from this book, Ernie's War, the rest of Ernie Pyle's World War II Dispatches. See, stuff like this is great for my research, especially down as I'm getting to the end.
I had corned beef and cabbage the other day. The most delicious corned beef and cabbage that I have ever had, and it wasn't Elaine's, because Elaine doesn't make it. I've had it many places. My sister's husband was Irish, so she used to make it for her husband, and I had this from a Polish guy, a Polak.
Who's that?
Ray.
Hmm?
Ray Ludwin.
Oh well, Ray is the best. Yeah, Ray used to do it for the Irish American Club, and when he left the Irish American Club, he took it over to the Inman Center, and it just melt in your mouth everything. Ray knows how to.
He sent some down.
Nobody does it better.
He sent some down the other day, and after I ate it, I just call Ray.
By the way, the dog is under the table here, in case you're wondering.
Next time he makes it, I want it.
Hi, Chippy dog.
He said it's time. He must know what time it is.
He does. Honestly, he's got the best clock. It is time.
There it is time. There it is time, Chip.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So this is the end of the show. Speak. Who's there?
Go get your
Who's
toy.
There? Who's there? Who's there?
He's going to go get his toy.
All right. Okay. All right. I guess. Whoa! Hold it, Chippy. Hold it, Chippy dog. He's taking the show with him. Okay. And whoa, there goes the microphone. Anyway. Until next week, I'm Bob Going with Jim Nikosha and Gavin Murdoch, and this has been the show. Slow down, Chip. With no name.